Kia ora, this is Arun Jacob, your friendly and frank licensed New Zealand immigration advisor as well as education advisor, coming live this Saturday, the 17th of November, from my new office here in Hamilton, New Zealand. It's been a part of my work as a licensed immigration advisor. And I shall start off by showing my license, which I procured after undertaking a course called the Graduate Certificate in New Zealand Immigration Advice, and also going through policy clearance checks and a few other formalities. So I have been licensed by the Immigration Advisors Authority of New Zealand, and that gives me the opportunity to be able to sit here and speak to all of you young people who plan to move to New Zealand for education or for migration. My team and my team is pretty big, at least by New Zealand standards. We are 40 people in my team at the moment, including 5 ex-immigration officers and 2 fully licensed immigration advisors, and another licensed advisor in the next few weeks. So that's our team at the moment. We are spread across India, New Zealand, and we have also one person working out of Dubai sometimes. So that's us, and we are primarily a company that caters to young people, or people of different age groups who would like to move to New Zealand for education or migration. So as part of my work, I do these live sessions on Facebook and YouTube. This is going live right now on Facebook and YouTube, and we have been fortunate. There has been a good following that has developed over the last few months and weeks, and there are, I think, close to 12,000 followers on YouTube at the moment, of all my work and that of my team's work on YouTube. And then we also have about 70,000, I think, people on our Facebook page and our Facebook group who follow us and do this. So a lot of my live broadcasts were aimed at people who were outside New Zealand. But then we realized as an organization that a lot of young people who are already in New Zealand, students who have come to study here, or young migrants, are also having a lot of questions. So today, for the first time, we decided that we are going to experiment and see if we can do a live session only for those people who are in New Zealand. And that's the reason I'm going live at 12 in the afternoon New Zealand time, because hopefully the rest of the world is still waking up, or nobody's up there and trying to ask questions which kind of clash with the questions being asked by people who are already present in New Zealand. But then, hey, look, so this is our first experiment, and we will try and build a following for this as well. In the meantime, there is a question asked by Zia Sajida, says, "Sir, I'm graduate from Pakistan and want to immigrate to New Zealand." Well, looks like Zia is up and early in Pakistan, and he is, obviously realized that I'm live, and he's been the first person to ask this question. So, hey, look, Zia, and then I can see that my colleague Mary Joseph, who also lives in Hamilton, has joined in, and she is the person. She's our senior manager here in New Zealand, and she's on the verge of getting her license as well, which means our team gets stronger. So Mary's joined in. Big hello to Nabin Gautam, my dear friend and a fantastic client who is from Nepal, but who's been living in New Zealand for a long time. I can see that he has updated his profile picture to his little baby boy. So, hey, good to see you, Nabin, and congratulations once again to you and to Sabina. So Nabin was one of those people who came to New Zealand, and then over a period of time, consulted me to get some advice, and we are still working with him to ensure that his journey in New Zealand continues successfully. But coming back to the question from Zia Sajida, "Hi, sir, I'm a graduate from Pakistan and want to immigrate to New Zealand." He follows it up with, "What's the requirement to migrate to New Zealand?" So although I can see that a lot of people in New Zealand are not joining in at this stage, and there is just the one question. This is a very important question, and I think it's a very pertinent question. Like a lot of Western countries which are facing the problems of an aging population and not enough young workers, New Zealand is also facing a similar problem. So That's the reason we have an active migration policy. And so we are looking for people to come to us as migrants. And there are different pathways to come to New Zealand as a migrant. You can come as a skilled migrant, you can come as a work to residence person, which means an accredited company here in New Zealand offers you a job, and then you get something called the work to residency pathway. If you have enough money, you could come as an investor, or if you want to set up a business in New Zealand, you could also come as on an entrepreneur visa, which eventually will lead to migration. So, Zia, there are various ways you can migrate to New Zealand, but I've just outlined some of the ways you can do it. And then one of the easiest pathways that we recommend and we suggest as a organization is also to consider the study plus settle pathway, because what's happened recently with a policy change in New Zealand is that they have kind of made it difficult for you to migrate directly on the skilled migrant pathway, because what they have done is they've changed the policy where they've made a rule saying that you need to either have an offer of skilled employment in New Zealand or be employed in New Zealand in a skilled employment, or you should have studied in New Zealand for at least 2 years and gotten yourself a master's or a PhD. So they have made this sort of the prerequisite. So either you need to have an offer of employment or skilled employment in New Zealand, or you should have studied here for at least 2 years and received a master's or a PhD. So you need to tick one of these boxes as a mandatory step. If you don't tick one of these, not only ticking these boxes, but you also need to get 160 points, which is the current selection point to be able to apply for skilled migrant category of New Zealand. And that 160 points is a combination of your age, your qualification, your work experience. If you're married, your spouse work experience, spouse qualification, and also in what area your work experience is or your studies are in, and all those kinds of permutations and combinations are there. So the bottom line, without going into much detail, is that if you're not having an employment in New Zealand, or if you have not studied in New Zealand for at least 2 years and got a master's or a PhD, it's almost impossible to get a direct skilled migrant pathway into New Zealand. So because of this, what we as an organization advocate is, and a lot of people ask us, so is it possible for me to get a job in New Zealand while I'm still in my country? And I constantly explain and say it's very, very difficult and almost impossible to find a job in New Zealand when you're not present in the country, because first and foremost, which employer would want to hire somebody who is not already legally present in the country? So that is number one. That is going to be a biggest obstacle. And number two, we already have a good supply of local people here in New Zealand. So why would anybody want to hire from somebody from outside, unless and until you come from a highly specialized engineering or technical background, and there's absolutely nobody we can find like that in New Zealand, then you might have an opportunity. So my recommendation as an licensed immigration advisor is you need to be in the country, and one of the best ways to be in the country is to come as an international student. Opt to take, and recently the government has liberalized the post-study work visa rights for international students. Practically, a lot of students who are going to come to New Zealand to study here will end up getting a 3-year work visa, a post-study work visa, which is a fantastic amount of time. So you will either be eligible for a 3 years, or a 2 years, or a 1-year post-study work visa, depending on the level of course you choose and which city you or location you opt to study it. And so earlier it was a standard 1-year post-study work visa for everybody, but now they made it 1 or 2 or 3 years, so which is fantastic. So the best way for you to consider migrating to New Zealand is to come to New Zealand as an international student. Make that investment of money, time, and effort, because in that 1 year that you study as an international, or 2 years that, or 3 years that you study as an international student, you will also attune yourself to what New Zealand is all about, create those networks, and kind of be well prepared to seek a job after you complete that course. Plus, you'll have the legal right to work because you get your post-study work visa. So, and when you get that skilled employment in that post-study work visa period, then you would definitely get the 160 points. Plus, you would also tick off that box which says you have skilled employment in New Zealand, and that's the best way to get migration into New Zealand. Zia, I know I'm giving a long answer because it looks like there's just three or four of us on this forum right now. So yeah, what the why not go ahead and explain this in detail so that we guys can you can share it with your family and friends, and we guys can also keep proposing this pathway to people. So that's the way to get migration to New Zealand, Zia. So, and it also looks like there will not be a lot of people who are going to be. Oh, we have some other questions that have come up. So Nirali Brahmabhat says, I'm very confused about this 3-year open work permit. I got visa on 1st August and got e-visa on 14th August. And I have pursuing level 7 graduate diploma in applied management. One moment. And I have pursuing level 7 graduate diploma in applied management. So will I get that 3-year visa or not? Okay, Nirali, because you applied for your visa before the 26th of November, these rules are kicking in from the 26th of November, which is a few days from now. In about 9 days from now, these rules kick in. So what will happen to you is you are fortunate that you have applied under the previous rules because you're only coming for a graduate diploma level. So what will happen is you will be eligible for a 3-year work visa. And I'm just reading through the FAQ that the government of New Zealand published when they changed these rules around. So what will happen is because you're already in the system as a student before the law has changed, so you are one of those fortunate people who would be able to. So it just says this. It says uh, quite clearly that because you're applying under the old rules, you would. I mean, essentially, you were eligible for a 1-year post-study work visa under the old rules, but because you've also already become an international student in New Zealand before the kicking in of the new rules, so you're basically going to get that 1-year post-study work visa. Plus, you will additionally get a 2 years post-study work visa. So quite clearly, you're going to get a 3 years post-study work visa, Nirali. Hope I have cleared that answer. And ideally, it should be your company or agency that is processing your application that should be providing you clarity about this particular thing. Like we get a lot of students working with us at the moment, and we are fortunate to work with a lot of bright young students. With them, we constantly engage all the time, and we give them copies of the policy, and we tell them how it works in terms of what post-study work visas they will get. But quite clearly, Nirali, for you, you're going to get a 3-year post-study work visa, so no problem about that. And looks like there are not a lot of other people joining in or asking questions. So like I said, this was an experimental session today to see whether uh, we can also cater to our onshore international student community here in New Zealand who have a lot of questions. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of genuine responses coming back to them. And so unfortunately, they also tend to speak to each other amongst themselves. And not a lot of these people are really clear about the policy. Like Nirali just asked me a question, and I could explain it very clearly why should we get a 3-year post-study work visa. And it can be, immigration law can be confusing, and which is why I will close this session today by requesting all those who who are watching this or who will watch it in future to seek the professional advice of a good company that is based in New Zealand, because there will be a lot of companies who are based outside New Zealand who will be talking about New Zealand, but it's like people who are not even present in the country trying to talk about this beautiful destination. So if you guys are really keen about creating a successful future, you must be talking to people like us who are present in New Zealand and who understand what this country is all about and how it works. And not only that, but we are also licensed so that we can provide you good, authentic, honest information about immigration policies and education policies here in New Zealand. Excellent. So this video, I think I'm going to end it now after 15 minutes. Normally, I tend to go for an hour, but not a lot of audience today, so we probably need to tweak our timings a little bit. But this is going to become a video, and it's going to sit on YouTube and Facebook. So if you guys tend to watch this later, so please email your queries if you are in New Zealand and you want to get some advice and information about further visas. Please send us your inquiry to immigration advisor at ajvglobal.com. So we've set up an email address which will come to our licensed immigration advisors. And if you are overseas and you were looking at wanting to get some information, we've set up a toll-free number in India because we get a lot of our clients from India. So that's the toll-free number you can call on, 1-800-103-6525. Or if you're not in India and you simply want some information from us, just email info@ajvglobal.com and we will take it up from there. All right, thanks guys for joining in. End of my first experimental onshore live session. Hopefully we'll come back and talk more and more, and we will also build a following for our onshore sessions. But till the next time, kakite ano, which is see you later, and have a wonderful weekend. And I shall see you next time when I'm coming live on Facebook and YouTube. Bye bye. Have a great day.